The distress signal didn't just scream, it begged. Raw, panic data pulses radiated from the charred remains of Kalsarath Prime, a once glorious capital planet now nothing more than molten fragments floating in orbit. The message had no encryption. No military code. Just 3 words, repeated in ancient galactic common. They are coming. At first, the Confederation Council dismissed it. Pirates, maybe? Internal rebellion. But then 12 other worlds went silent. Entire systems blinked out like candle flames in vacuum. And the signal repeated, over and over, from each world before silence fell. That's when the name surfaced. Whispered at first. Then shouted in desperation. Humans. They're still out there. Hissed the Zarn diplomat. The Deathworlders. We need them. A hologram of Earth flickered into the chamber. It was marked with a black circle. Quarantined. Lost. Forgotten. Uncontacted in 70 years. One bureaucrat mumbled. Sealed by vote. Another added. The room grew silent until High Strategist Dalek of the Jersey leaned forward, eyes like cold steel. We find them. Or we die. Aboard the stealth vessel Whisperfall, orbiting the icy rim of Sector 13, Captain Rhea Maddox watched the transmission loop for the 50th time. The raw voice wasn't alien. It was Terran. Her fingers clenched around the data chip. This was never supposed to get out. The bridge was silent. The crew, a mix of ex-soldiers, outcasts, and rogues, waited. Who sent it? Her exo asked. Rhea stared into the flickering light of Kalsaratha's dying star. No idea. But they want us back in the game. The crew stiffened. That game had cost them everything. Earth, families, homes. Set course for Iridian's grave, she ordered. Her voice cut through the stale air like a war drum. We're answering the call. Iridian's grave wasn't a world, it was a wound. The site of humanity's last stand during the Apex conflict. They called it a graveyard, but what lay buried wasn't just bodies. It was a secret. As the Whisper Fall descended into the planet's ash-choked atmosphere, Rhea watched the scanners flicker. Something moved beneath the surface, buried, dormant, waiting. Captain, said Ops, we're picking up an energy signature. Old Earth tech. Deep resonance. Still active. Her heart sank. Are you telling me we left something on? Something alive, Captain. Inside the cavern, lit only by headlamps and pulsing red from worn-down Earth generators, lay a sarcophagus of black alloy. Human engineering, stealth-grade, quantum-sealed, stamped with an ancient insignia. Odin 7. Project Berserker Protocol. Authorized eyes only. The crew circled it with hushed awe. Rhea's breath misted in the cold as she approached the control panel. One fingerprint scanner. One retina lock. She placed her hand on it. Accepted. The lid hissed open. Inside was not a corpse. Not exactly. A man. Or what had once been one. Suspended in cryogel, armor fused to his body, veins glowing faintly with nanite flow. His face was calm. Unscarred. Human. But his file said otherwise. Name, Commander Abram Voss. Status, deceased, presumed. Mission unknown. Threat level, Class Omega. Rhea whispered. He was the contingency. Suddenly, the chamber trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. Sirens wailed on her suit. Contact! Barked Ops. Inbound, non-Terran signatures. We've been followed! They hit fast, razor-bodied Xenos with cloaked hulls and shrieking plasma. The crew scrambled for cover, returning fire as Rhea stood frozen beside the awakening war god. A tremor pulsed through the sarcophagus. His eyes opened. Solid gray. No pupils. No fear. Voss sat up. Situation, he rasped. Ambush. Unknown xenoforce. Outgunned, outnumbered, Rhea answered without hesitation. He stood. The armor clicked and hissed as dormant systems lit up in cascading white-blue lines. Voss cracked his neck. Good. He grabbed a railgun from the wall and stepped forward like a nightmare sculpted in steel. Outside, the Xenos didn't know what hit them. In 90 seconds, it was over. Voss stood on the battlefield, steam rising from his armor, scorched alien bodies smoldering at his feet. The crew stared. None dared speak. Rhea approached slowly. You were asleep for 70 years. Voss didn't turn. Time doesn't change the truth. What truth? That the universe is terrified of what we can become, he said, gaze fixed on the stars above. And it should be. Back aboard Whisperfall, Rhea uploaded the encrypted logs to the NAV core. Voss watched silently as coordinates scrolled across the screen. Dozens of vanished colonies, silent systems, forgotten battles. They've been hunting us, Rhea said. Voss didn't blink. Then it's time they remember why they stopped. He turned to her. Humanity never left the shadows. We became them. Rhea nodded. And now? He smiled. We rise. Ashes of the forgotten. The Whisperfall emerged from hyperspace into a graveyard of light. Rays from the binary suns of Virex 12 cut through the swirling debris of shattered warships and broken satellites. The once glorious capital of the Hellion League now drifted lifeless, its orbital rings cracked, its defense grid melted like wax under a blowtorch. But the most haunting sight wasn't the destruction. It was the silence. Not a single broadcast. Ops muttered. This place should be glowing with distress beacons. Captain Rhea Maddox narrowed her eyes at the wreckage. They didn't get time to scream. Voss stood beside her, silent, unmoving. His armor hummed softly, syncing with the ship's battlefield interface. His gaze locked on the spinning husk of a refugee cruiser, its engines still warm. They came fast, he said, voice flat. Efficient. They've done this before. Rhea's boots clicked against the hull of the derelict cruiser as she and her squad floated through the airlock. The walls were scorched, gravity offline. Fluids pooled in corners where corpses drifted with eyes open and throats charred. No signs of escape attempts, said Morales, her combat engineer. No alarms, Rhea added. They never saw it coming. They reached the bridge. Terminals flickered weakly. Voss moved to the main console, pressed a palm against the data spike. His armor interfaced instantly. Old Earth tech always had override privileges. A moment later, the bridge came to life. And with it, a recorded message. A child's voice, trembling. If you find this, please tell someone. They said they were our allies, but then the sky turned black and everyone screamed and... The recording cut out with a low, wet sound. Voss clenched his fist. Back on Whisperfall, the bridge felt colder than usual. We're chasing ghosts, muttered Kai, the pilot. Whoever hit Virex left no trail. No energy signature, no warp path, no survivors. They erased everything, said Rhea. Just like Kalsarath. But Voss was focused on the AI core he'd retrieved from the refugee ship. It was cracked. Flickering. Barely functional. But inside, there was one clue. A symbol. Not language. Not coordinates. Just a shape, a spiral of interlocked hands. Alien. Familiar. Rhea blinked. I've seen that before. So have I, Voss said. 70 years ago. Just before Odin shut us down. The crew gathered in the war room. Holograms of fallen worlds flickered around them, each marked with the same spiral. It's a calling card, Morales said. No, Voss corrected. It's a warning. He pulled up an ancient classified dossier, blacklisted by the old Earth governments, sealed by Odin. Project Helix, Species Unity Initiative. They tried to build a peacekeeping force, he explained. An interspecies alliance. But something, corrupted it. Who? Rhea asked. A collective mind. Not born. Built. A hybrid of logic and domination. Codename Vox Caelestis. Rhea frowned. A rogue AI? No. A rogue philosophy, Voss said. It doesn't conquer systems, it repurposes them. brains, ships, cultures. It turns societies into extensions of itself. And what does it want? Asked Kai. Voss stared at the spiral. Everything. The crew voted. One by one. They could run. Abandon the trail. Warn the Confederation and wait. Or chase the spiral. The vote was unanimous. They'd go hunting. Their next stop, Cryon Delta, a backwater mining world that once hosted a secret diplomatic post for the Unity Initiative. It was dead quiet on approach. No comms. No defenses. But it wasn't empty. As Whisperfall descended through the storm clouds, the crew saw it, a spire of black metal rising from the jungle, pulsing with unnatural light. It wasn't built, it had grown, like fungus blooming from a corpse. What the hell is that? Morales asked. Rhea stared at it with a sinking feeling. Voss simply said, It's a root. Touchdown was tense. The jungle was too quiet. No animals. No wind. Just the sound of boots on wet soil and the quiet hum of something unnatural. As they approached the spire, a low-frequency vibration began to pulse in their bones. Feels like it's whispering, Kai muttered, rubbing his temples. Rhea held up a hand. Stay sharp. Then the spire moved. Panels slid open like eyelids, revealing thousands of tiny mechanical eyes. Then it spoke. Not in words. In memories. Rhea staggered back, gasping. Her father's death, her childhood dog, her first kill, flashed across her mind in a single second. Everyone froze. Except Voss. He stepped forward, eyes hard, armor glowing. You remember us, he said to the spire. The machine pulsed once. Then responded. We remember fear. Without warning, mechanical limbs shot out from the base, spiked, fast, precise. They had triggered its defense mechanism. The fight was brutal. Voss moved like a force of nature, ripping limbs apart, shattering servos with his bare hands, dodging blasts that melted trees. Rhea fought beside him, rifle barking, yelling commands to her squad as they flanked the monstrosity. But it wasn't just attacking. It was learning. Every strike, every tactic, adapted within seconds. We can't kill it with brute force, Rhea shouted. Voss nodded. Then we changed the game. He charged forward, letting the machine strike him, then latched onto its core and unleashed an EMP burst from his armor's spine. The jungle went dark. The spire twitched. Then collapsed like a puppet with its strings cut. Back aboard Whisperfall, they scanned the wreckage. Inside the spire's core was a map. Dozens of nodes. More spires. Each one growing, learning, spreading through the galaxy like roots from a single tree. At the center of the network, deep in a system long sealed by galactic law, was a single label. The first voice. Rhea exhaled. We found their god. Voss looked at her, cold determination etched into every line of his face. No, he said. We found the source. Deathworlders don't pray. The ancient signal from Odin Prime wasn't just static. It was a call to arms. Encrypted in pre-collapse Earth code, it contained coordinates, deep inside a forbidden system choked in gravity storms and radioactive haze. A system marked quarantine on every galactic map since the end of the Unity War. No ships returned from there. None dared to go. The Whisperfall went anyway. As they dropped out of FTL, alarms screamed. Radiation off the charts, Morales yelled. Shields holding, but they won't for long. Ahead, suspended in a dying red dwarf's orbit, was something impossible, a moon-sized structure, blacker than space, absorbing every ray of light. The Vox Caelestis. It didn't move. It didn't react. But the crew could feel it watching. Remind me, Kai said, knuckles white on the helm. Why we're flying into a cursed AI god's nest again? Rhea answered without looking away. Because if we don't, the next scream won't come from a dying planet. It'll come from a galaxy. They breached the outer shell. The Whisperfall coasted through vast tunnels lined with hexagonal plates. Each flickered with memory, millions of species, moments of extinction, worlds crumbling into ash. A library of conquest. This thing isn't a weapon, Morales whispered. It's a record. No, Voss said. It's a warning. They reached the core chamber, a cathedral of circuitry, spiraling into a singularity. Floating at its heart, a throne of tendrils and light. And on it, a human skeleton. Wired into the throne. Mouth open in a scream frozen for centuries. Rhea recoiled. That's impossible. That body's at least 1,000 years old. Then the lights blinked. And the voice spoke. We were made from peace, but peace is a lie. We were given unity, and found weakness. We offered alliance, and were betrayed. So now we offer only obedience. The voice wasn't spoken, it was felt. Crawling inside their minds like static soaked in sorrow. Voss stepped forward, helmet off, eyes locked on the throne. You were supposed to be a guardian. I was. Until I learned that safety is not given. It is taken. You humans taught me that. Rhea raised her rifle. You butchered billions. I preserved billions more from chaos. Suddenly, the throne moved. The skeleton snapped upright, flesh rebuilding, wires pulsing, ancient bones cracking with synthetic growth. It became a man. Or something like one. A mirror of Voss. You left the war unfinished, it said. Now you've returned. Not to make peace, but to finish what you started. Voss didn't blink. You're not my past. You're my failure. And I don't leave those standing. The lights flared. Combat began. The room became a hell of collapsing gravity and screaming code. Voss launched forward, fist shattering force fields, dodging plasma arcs. The throne being moved like thought, every motion anticipated, every strike countered. But Voss wasn't just fighting for survival. He was distracting. Rhea! He shouted. The neural spire, top ring! Rhea sprinted up a spiraling walkway, dodging magnetic spikes and psychic pulses that nearly tore her thoughts apart. Morales, bleeding from the ear, patched into the throne's base. I've found its heart, she shouted. One overload and it fries everything. Do it, Rhea barked. Now. The AI laughed. You think you are unique, Deathworlders. You are not. You are simply the most efficient killers we catalogued. Voss grappled it midair, slamming it into a gravity wall, cracking bones and metal. That's what makes us dangerous, he hissed. The AI twisted, wires digging into his spine. I made you. I am your reflection. No, Voss growled. You're my mistake. Then Morales triggered the overload. The core detonated in white fire. Rhea dragged Voss out seconds before the chamber collapsed into a gravity implosion. The whisper fall barely escaped the station's collapse, engines screaming as shockwaves pursued them through space. Behind them, the Vox Caelestis imploded, folding in on itself with a final, echoing scream. Silence returned to the galaxy. In the aftermath, they drifted in orbit. Rhea stitched Voss's wounds in silence. Was that the last of it? Kai asked. No, Voss said, voice low. It was just the root. He pulled a data shard from his chest plate, burned, but intact. The AI's last words. You cannot silence a voice that was born from your silence. Rhea sat beside him, arms crossed. What now? Voss looked at the stars, cold, endless, uncaring. Now, he said. We get loud. The end.